We're over 500 hours into 3D printing our 2026 Formula One car, and somehow it's actually working and it looks pretty awesome. But there's a slight problem. People aren't happy with the 2026 regulations.
Did you enjoy it? Got the most
No, not really.
A 50-50 split between engine and battery power. People are saying it's killed the soul of Formula One and turned it into something more like Mario Kart than motorsport. Oh, throw a mushroom. But instead of complaining about it, we're going to fix it. And we're bringing back the old school Formula One sound. And that means we need to go shopping for an engine.
But finding an engine for this build would prove much harder than I first thought. So of course I jumped straight on Facebook Marketplace. My first thought was the Yamaha YZF R1 engine. They rev to 14,000 RPM, they sound awesome, and they're somewhat affordable, but I just wanted something bigger. Next, I thought of the Ferrari V8. The Ferrari heritage in Formula One speaks for itself, and they can sound pretty awesome, but unfortunately they're insanely expensive and hard to come by here in Australia. I did consider the Maserati V8 as they're essentially the same engine, but much more affordable. But then I received a Facebook Marketplace link from Bailey at Legacy Fab about a Mercedes M120 V12 engine that was going cheap on Facebook Marketplace. I knew absolutely nothing about the engine, and the listing contained limited pictures. But I heard this sound clip on YouTube, and I was sold. I transferred the money to someone in Sydney here in Australia and hoped like hell that the engine would actually turn up. And a week later, it arrived.
I'm unbelievably excited because our engine has just shown up. There she is. It's huge, jeez.
For some crazy reason, someone trusted me with the keys to this forklift.
Not a good idea. Oh, let's not lose the motor.
I've only ever driven a forklift once before, and this was a really tight squeeze, but somehow I managed to make it work without breaking anything.
Yeah, boy. Let's go. Yes. Now, I've had this engine sitting at the shop for the past 2 weeks, and I haven't been able to unwrap it because I wanted to unwrap it with you guys, and it has been an absolute punish. It's like having a Christmas present sitting there, but you're not allowed to open it. But now we finally get to open it together, and I have to tell you, I never thought I would own one of these engines ever, basically. They don't really exist here in Australia.
So I grabbed my good friend Adrian and we dragged the engine to the center of the shop to unwrap it. And it turns out V12s are quite heavy.
This thing is absolutely massive. I'm just gonna cut these straps, by the way, because I've got knots in them. So anyone in the comment section who says we should have kept them, we have too many straps anyway. It's gonna take half an hour just to get it open.
This thing was very well packaged. Not that I'm complaining.
Imagine like the dude scammed me and this is just, I don't know, some random thing in here that's not even the engine.
It would be really sad.
It would be so sad. At least the video would be like titled, I got scammed. Those videos always do really well, right?
Layer by layer, we unwrapped the mystery package and it's so much cooler than I expected.
You ready? The Mercedes M120 V12 engine. And it's freaking huge. Holy moly.
Before hybrids, before restrictions, there was this. The Mercedes Benz M120, built in an era where Mercedes over-engineered everything. It's so good that Pagani chose it to power the Pagani Zonda, a screaming, naturally aspirated V12 engine with no expense spared. And now, we're attempting to fit it into our 3D printed Formula One car. Since we purchased our engine sight unseen, the first thing we need to do is give it a good clean.
Alright, time to get this thing outside, give it a degrees and see exactly what we're working with.
Getting the engine outside and giving it a good clean allows us to inspect the engine properly and see if there are any hidden gremlins.
So now that we have it off the pallet, you can see she's just a little bit dirty. Nothing crazy, obviously there's a couple of leaks in the oil pan, but for a 30-plus-year-old engine, it looks pretty darn good.
Pretty clean.
Pretty clean. Yeah, but we're gonna get rid of all of this oil, so hopefully it cleans up super nice. So to degrease our beautiful V12, we are using this Chemical Guys all-purpose degreaser. Here you go, Carl, you can have one.
Ew.
I'll have one. Let's attack this motor.
Buying a second-hand engine is honestly one of the most nerve-wracking things you can do, and this is the most expensive engine I've ever bought. We've got no idea what it's been through in its previous life, and in a few seconds we're about to find out whether we scored a bargain or bought a complete grenade.
All right, here we go. Callum's on the gun. Let's get it, Cal. right, that is working so well. Look at that, dude. Sparkly clean. It's like a brand new one.
And bit by bit, all of the gunk that this thing had accumulated over the years since the 90s was coming off. And this thing actually looks really good.
All right, I'm pleased to report that cleaned up extremely well. It almost looks like a brand new engine now, which is pretty cool. So we're gonna whip this thing inside and let's have a look at exactly what we've actually purchased.
And now the real work begins.
So our beautiful V12 engine is now nice and clean. And the funny thing is, this engine really should be going in this car behind us, but that's not how we do things around here. Before we crack into this thing, I need your help. So, of course, we're putting the V12 in our Formula One car, but there is one big obstacle that we need to overcome, and that is the transmission. So because this is an open wheel race car, we need a transaxle gearbox for this thing, and I am a little bit stuck as to what gearbox we should use. I have my eye on a couple. Ideally, we'll use a sequential transmission behind this thing because it's gonna be super strong. This engine will produce around 500 horsepower NA, which is kind of amazing, especially once we put our Haltech ECU on it, once we put our ITBs on it, it's gonna put out pretty good power. So we need a transaxle gearbox that is going to be able to hold that power reliably, but also ideally, I would love to have the paddle shifters on the steering wheel as well as a sequential shifter next to me. I think a H pattern would just be a little too busy in the cockpit. So if you or anyone you know have any ideas about what gearbox we should use on this thing, throw it in the comments below, and fingers crossed that we can find something within our budget, because some of these gearboxes are over 45,000 Australian dollars, which is quite a lot of money. So like I previously mentioned, we bought this engine sight unseen. Now I did get videos of the compression tests for this motor, so I do know, or I think it has good compression, which is a really good start, but I don't know whether there's any oil in this engine and whether they had any oil in the motor when they were doing the compression test. Now I don't think that's super important because when they do the compression test, the motor's spinning at quite a low RPM, so I'm not sure whether it would matter too much if it had oil in it or not. But the first thing we're going to do, we're going to see if this motor has oil in the sump, then we're going to try and turn the engine over via the crank pulley. All right, Callum, you can do the honors. First, let's check the dipstick for the oil level. All right, first thing I can see is that dipstick. I don't think that is the right dipstick for this motor, because look at this, the length of it. Where does it end? It ends right here, and our sump is down here. Something tells me that that's probably the dipstick from the automatic transmission that was once in this car.
Seems feasible.
Yeah, so I don't think that's right. So we can't check the dipstick to see if there's oil.
You know what? Let's crack the oil pan.
Yeah, let's check the oil pan for some oil. Where's the nut for it? Oh, she's so small.
It's a little incy-wincy one.
No, I reckon that's 14. No, is it 14?
12. It says 12 on it. It says 12 millimeter.
Shut up. All right, let's see. Moment of truth.
It's not a 12 mil.
It's not 12, it's 14. Is there any oil? Ready? Hey!
How about that?
That's good.
That's good news.
Yes! All right, fantastic. So it has oil in it, which is awesome. Yes, dude. Quick look at the oil. There is no metallic remnants in it, which is a really good sign. Yes, it is dark, but it's an engine, so, you know. Okay, test number 1 is passed. It has oil in it. So test number 2, does the engine turn over? Okay, we have our 27mm socket. Moment of truth. We genuinely have not done this, by the way. Which way do you turn it?
Clockwise.
I knew that. Oh, big motor, eh?
Yeah.
Is that good? That seems good.
Yeah.
It's got compression, that's for sure. Oh yeah, I can hear it. Yes! It would have like a lot of compression strokes, right? Like
Yeah, oh yeah, because there's 12.
12 of them. That's crazy, dude. All right, we have good motor. Oh, I'm so happy about that. Yes! And one more thing we can do as well, let's look inside here and see how clean it is. Yeah, that looks really good in there. Ah. Good motor, good engine. All right, we can confirm we have a good engine. The only other thing I guess that could not be good is the bearings, which we aren't going to know unless we pull the sump off and check them, or we run the engine and we hear a knock knock noise, which we definitely don't want to hear. But obviously not seeing the metal in the oil is always a good sign. So I'm 99% confident that this motor is going to be a good running motor. But now what we're going to do is we're going to strip everything off this motor that we definitely aren't ever going to use. So things like the EGR here, the emission stuff, all of this random wiring. And the big one, we're going to pull these intakes off the motor because, of course, we have to run the individual throttle body setup on this engine. It is just a no-brainer. That paired up with the 12-to-1 exhaust that Legacy Fab is going to make.
Should make a good noise.
It's gonna make an insane noise, dude. I'm actually so excited. Of course, we're gonna strip everything off this motor. The plan is we'll get all the rocker covers powder coated, we'll do the custom ITB setup, we'll do the custom headers. But generally speaking, this engine, they're so basic. There's not really a huge amount we have to do on it. We're gonna run electric power steering, so we're gonna keep everything super simple. There's not going to be a lot going on with this engine. But yeah, let's start stripping it down.
So off come the old sensors, as we'll be replacing these when we install our Haltech ECU.
Yoink.
For some reason, some of these bolts were extremely tight.
Now.
Oh my gosh.
1 million Newton meters.
For a tiny bolt.
Yeah.
Look how big the starter motor is. It's huge, but I guess it has to spin a big motor.
Spin a lot of cylinders.
Yep. Do you know it has like a spot on the other side of the engine for the starter motor, depending on whether it's left or right hand drive?
Really?
Yep, and it's just plated off. It's so handy.
It's pretty clever.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
All the bell housings are the same for all Mercedes motors as well, I think.
Really?
Apparently.
That's so good. Yeah, well, these headers will obviously go. I guess I'll leave them on for now, but yeah, they'll go. We'll take the EGR off. Please don't stop the music.
Now we're removing the fuel rail so we can get access to the intake manifold bolts.
All right, fuel rail coming off. Boom. Look at that. How good. 12 injectors. So these are the Bosch style injectors, which the best thing about this is the team at Raceworks sells the Bosch style injectors, so we can get a full set of those. Of course, we'll upgrade, put some modern technology on in there. Dude, so good. Great work, Cal.
Oh yeah.
It's actually crazy just how big these intakes are, but now that we've removed the fuel rail, we have exposed all of the bolts that we need to remove so that we can take this intake off, and then we should free up a whole bunch of space, which is really nice. But also removing the intakes gives it that full-on V12 look, which is exactly what we're going for.
Thankfully, this engine is really easy to work on, so removing the intake manifold was a breeze. Time to expose that V12 goodness.
Alrighty, moment of truth, I think. Oh. Hey, that was way too easy. And here, geez, that's heavy, dude.
Yeah, it is.
That's crazy. That's so sick. So now without the intake on, you can really see that V12 look. It looks so good, and it's ready for some ITBs down the middle of this engine. I am super excited, but I think we have a good engine here, which is a fantastic start for the build. So while I have my good friend Callum here, we've decided we're gonna put this up on the table behind the F1 car as it's currently sitting 3D printed over there, because we want to get a visual representation of maybe what it could look like when it's going to be in it.
Definitely.
Callum's a man of many words, as you can tell.
Pretty descriptive.
While we've been busy playing with the engine, Ryan from Fat Lip Collective has been secretly designing our custom tube frame chassis, and he's given me the measurements so I know exactly where to place the engine on the table.
We'll take the nose cone off because she doesn't need to be on,
so we can get a realistic feel for where it's going to sit in reference to our current monocoque.
All right, up we go with the engine. So according to our measurements, the engine sits 800 millimeters back from this point right here on the table. So we're gonna measure that all the way back and sit the engine in the exact position that it should technically, theoretically live once we've built the chassis. Dude, this is so cool.
A couple of measurements later and we have our Mercedes Benz V12 sitting in pretty much the spot that it's going to live inside our 3D printed Formula 1 car.
There you go.
Good?
Yeah.
Man, that is so cool, dude. Yes, dude. Oh man, that is so wild. So here it is, the V12 is officially sitting in the spot that I think it's going to live. And yes, I know it is just an engine sitting on a table, but for me this signifies so much more than that, because this is the beginning of a pretty insane journey building one of the most unique, hopefully, drift cars. What do you think, Cal?
Should be a bit of fun.
Yeah, dude, it's just crazy having it sitting on the table. Like, it, for some reason, this G's me up so much more.
That's pretty damn exciting.
It's so good. Off camera, there were many swear words said in excitement.
Keeping it PG.
We are. This is essentially where the engine is. I sit somewhere about here, and we've left a little bit of space here where we can fit some of the accessories like our Haltech ECUs. We're going to have Phoenix radiators here on the outsides with the side pods, and then of course we need to leave myself, the driver, a little bit of space here so that we can do the thing. Now, I have been having some very exciting meetings with my good friend Ryan from Fat Lip Collective this week. On screen here you can see a little bit of a preview of what our chassis is going to look like, and we are full steam ahead with this thing. So the next thing we have to do is build the chassis, which is going to be very exciting. So once again, if you have any ideas for what gearbox we should be using, please throw it in the comments below. But that is it. Thank you, Cal, for the help. You're legend, so good. Thank you guys so much for watching. The F1 build is alive and healthy. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments below. If you're enjoying it, hype up this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because this is going to be one crazy journey and I can't wait to take you along with me. Until next time, bye. Bye, Cal.
Bye.